Hey gorgeous! It's been a little while since I made a vlog, so I'm back at it again. I'll start with some real life stuff first before I get into what real life versus wedding life is basically what that is. Jake had a procedure done. It was a minor procedure, he's totally fine, but for about 7 to 10 days he wasn't allowed to walk around too much. He's supposed to be relaxing and recovering. Well, since that was the case, we didn't really want him on his feet in the kitchen because Jake is the one who cooks for us every day because he gets done with work earlier than I do, so he's already home, and so he starts cooking, and then by the time I get home it's done and we just eat together as soon as I get back. And also he's a better cook than me. I mean, it just kind of makes sense. I make the meal plan and then Jake just cooks whatever I put on there because there's only like 2 things he doesn't like. But since Jake wasn't supposed to be cooking, I was making the meals, which threw off my schedule a little bit, because I have less time because now I'm spending the extra time making dinner, which Jake is fine with, but I am not as fine with, which is another reason why we have it this way. So I didn't have as much time at night as I usually do. And also, I was hangry because I'm used to eating when I get home, and now I'm spending the time making food, so I have to wait for it to be done. And it was a hard week for me. It actually wasn't hard. I just wasn't a huge fan of it. It's not like I made hard dishes either. I just don't like waiting, and I'm impatient. And I'm used to what it's been like for, 4 years now. It's been our MO. But yeah, he's fine now. He's back to cooking again, and it's great. And obviously, I'll help him in the kitchen. Maybe a little more than I used to. At work, we also discussed a new contract, so that's going to get signed sometime this week. We just kind of looked over it and picked stuff apart. I don't know if I've mentioned it before, but I'm a nanny, and I like to do contracts, so it clearly outlines, PTO, sick days, what are my duties, and just sort of other logistical stuff, like what do we do if it snows, what do we do if this situation happens, emergency, just to cover, me and the parents, I can't post the kids on social media and stuff like that, so there's other protections for them too, and so it's nice to have one. And my contracts generally last a year, but I usually work a couple more years than that. It really depends on the circumstance. I'm usually there from baby to preschool. And I've been with this family for a year, and they asked me to stay another year, so we have that all squared away. I got a raise, which is very nice. Another thing that I'm very excited about is Jake's mom is beta reading a story I wrote for me, which is super cool because the only one who's read it before is Jake, which is great. I loved his input. He really helped me find the weak spots in my writing and, emphasize you use this phrase a lot, maybe you should tone it down, and a few things he needed more explanation, like, hey, you just threw this in here, what is this? And I'd forget that I didn't talk about it earlier. The thing is, Jake mostly reads fantasy. That's his genre that he likes. He likes sci-fi and other ones too, but I'm writing an adult fiction, which is not really his favorite. I mean, obviously he's gonna say, oh, I love it because he's a great guy, but it'll be nice to have his mom read it because she works in a middle school. She reads that sort of stuff, or she's aware of it anyway, so she knows more what it's supposed to be like. And man, I had to really edit a lot of stuff out. I realized for writing a young adult book, I swear a lot in my writing. So I had to edit out a bunch of swear words and go through some of the grammar mistakes again and just see where, if there are any squiggly lines I need to figure out. So that also took up a lot of time because I was editing in preparation for her reading it. And she's about 90 pages in, which is awesome. She hasn't read for a little bit, but I know she'll get back to it eventually. So that's exciting for me because I haven't really shared my story with anybody but Jake. So it's crazy to have someone else reading it. I know it's not like an audience, but it's someone I know who's reading it as a favor to me. But it's still kind of cool that there's people out there now who know the story that was in my head. I always say, oh, if I never get published, it'd be fine. And that's not true. I'd be pretty sad if I never got published. But honestly, I might just be satisfied if at least, people I know can read it. I think that's really neat. Maybe I just keep passing it around if it never happens. I also this is a new phone I'm recording on. So I'm 31, and I was on my parents' phone plan still. So Jake and I went in and I transferred, my old phone to the new phone and got onto his phone plan, so I'll just be paying him back every month instead of my dad. And it makes me feel a little more grown up and a little more married. And the new phone's really nice. And honestly, not even just the phone plan, but we're going on, a couple trips, and I wanted to have a better camera. this camera, I don't know how much better it is. I'm assuming a decent amount better. My last phone was a 10e and this is a S21. So I'm assuming there's some upgrades, but I mostly just want it for vacations and stuff. So that'll be nice. And when it comes to other stuff, oh, another thing that happened since the last time I vlogged is that gummies became legal in Minnesota. So that's been a thing that I have a few friends who are like, oh, like, we're worrywarts. So we're like, oh, we don't really want to try anything. Like, I'm curious. Like, maybe if I went to Colorado, I'd try it. But I don't break rules. I grew up in the middle of nowhere in Minnesota where, like, everybody has, like, snuck a beer by 15. And I didn't drink till I was 21. I was like, I'm a rule follower, I guess. So since that was a brand new thing, me and my friends have hung out a couple times and, like, tried it and seen how it went. I haven't really felt anything. So I don't know how, it's gotta work, right? Like, all my friends were having a great time, but I just felt kind of the same, but like my mouth was dry. That was about it. So I guess if you've never tried one, that's what it's like for one person. Probably not the story that you want to go tell people about though. But yeah, around the same time, I was getting some like bad wedding burnout. I just didn't want to do anything, and so I was kind of using it as an excuse to chill, even though it didn't really do much. But then I started to feel really lazy because I wasn't doing the things I normally do, and so it kind of messed with my head a little bit. And I got over that hump, and I'm back fine with it now because I guess I should start from the beginning and say what I've gotten done this week. So I think the last time I was talking about the wedding shower just ended. Literally, the next day, the day after the shower, it was a Sunday, and so I got everything out and I just banged out 41 thank you cards. And they were like personalized too. I wrote something different to everybody, like at least in some form. So I was pretty proud of that. I mean, still not looking forward to doing it again for the wedding, but obviously I'm going to. I just gotta maybe not do them all in a day because my hand actually hurt the next day. You always think people are exaggerating, but I was like, no, yeah, this is a thing that happens. And along with the thank you cards, we also got our invites in the mail a couple weeks ago. So those are sent out. We've gotten RSVPs already. I think we have currently 40 yeses out of we've invited 240 people. So I mean, it's a fraction. It's honestly, I was hoping for more, but that's just because I'm the person who would always respond immediately. So that's what I expect. But I know most people are kind of on the Jake end where it's like, oh, I'll figure it out later. Like, oh, I don't know. Like, we still have time. We can tell them whenever. So it's nice to have the RSVPs come in, though. I'm happy to see them. Even some of the no's, I'm just kind of like, oh, that's nice to know. Good. Like, oh, that could give us an extra, like, $20 for the bar or whatever. Also, this week I started the vows and stuff. I have a solid first version done. Like, if this is what I said at the wedding, I'd be happy with it. But knowing me, I'm still going to tweak it until the day of and, like, see if I could improve it elsewhere. But it's nice to have a good, like, first draft that I think could be a final draft if need be. Like, that I'm that happy with it. Because I'll have to edit everything. So the fact that I'm like, this will be fine is, like, a good sign, and then it'll make me less stressed later. Because, yeah, I'll tweak it, but I won't need to, like, screw anything up too much. I also wrote a little rehearsal dinner speech just to kind of, like, throw in some more of, like, the inside jokes that the larger ceremony people wouldn't understand, but our close friends and family would understand. Like, if I made a joke about Jake programming all the time, like, you know, better group for it. And yeah, I figured I'd be more funny with that one. And so that's also, I have, like, a decent first draft of that. I'm still working on, I want to do an after the reception speech as well. Because I think in the past, like, the groom does it, but one, I don't give a crap. And two, I like to talk, and I have so many people I need to thank. And I know Jake will probably forget, but I'll bring my piece of paper and I'll thank every one of them. So I'm doing my own little speech there too. And that I've kind of written, but I should cut some stuff, but there's so many thank yous I want to say, so it's very hard. The other thing I haven't started really yet is we're also going to do letters the morning of, where we can be, like, heart from the heart, like, more mushy than anything else. Like, you know, letter is going to be the mushiest, and then probably the vows, And then reception speech, I'll say something nice. And then, like, the rehearsal dinner, I'll just roast him. Just kidding. I would never do that to Jake. I will give him crap, but I won't roast him in front of our family and friends. It'll be stuff they also know about Jake. Recently, I tried dermaplaning, which actually went pretty well. Although now I feel like I already need to do it again. Is that weird? Maybe I just did it wrong, because it's like an at-home dermaplaning thing. So, tried that for the first time. Went well, so I'm planning to do it again in a couple weeks, and then also like the week before the wedding, so that I'm prepped. I also had a hair and makeup trial with my sister-in-law, who said she would do my makeup for me, and it went really well. It ended up just kind of being a girls' day, so it was me, and then my sister-in-law, and then my sister, who's my maid of honor. We were all hanging out together, and we just talked so much of the time. It was such a good time, and we need to have more days like that. It was so fun. Oh, but I guess to the wedding part of it, though, she did my makeup. I forgot my eyeshadow palette, which is kind of a bummer, but she had the one that she'd never used, and she's like, oh, just use this. I was like, are you sure? She just gave me a whole freaking palette. I don't even know how much it was. I was like, thanks, you're the best. She's such a sweetheart. I wish I talked to her more. I'm always like, I'm the sibling that lives the furthest away, so I don't go to every family event, even though I go to a decent amount. There are a bunch of family events. But we never really, there's so many people to talk to in my family that we never really got that close until, the last few months. And so it was great to have my sister-in-law, and then obviously I love spending time with my little sister. But gosh, my sister-in-law's, been a champ throughout this whole thing. She has zero obligation or reason to do all of the help that she has offered, but she has, and she has delivered every time. Jake had his final suit fitting, so that's done. He still needs to go back and pick it up after they tailor it a bit more, but he brought all the ties with him. I guess they just give the groom all the ties at the store they used, because it's a local shop where you can buy a suit for, I think it's $200 or less, and you get to keep it. So that's what we use, because then our friends sometimes need a nice suit. So not a lot of them, because they're programmers and they work from home, but hey, they'll have one now. It was about the same price as renting around here, so we figured why not, just extra $20 and they get a whole suit out of the deal. We have a trip coming up in August, and now we have that all booked and planned out. We still need to figure out the mini moon. That's going to be, 2 months later, but we'll get it managed. It's just, planning a bunch of trips at a time. So planning trips is one of my favorite things to do. So I go really hard at it. The thing is, generally I have all of my time to expend on a trip at that point in time. But now I've got wedding and trip and another trip. So it's hard for me to do all of it. But we have the first one booked, and the mini moon will just kind of have to wait until things calm down a bit more. I just hope there's still hotels left, because I don't know if it's peak season or not. I'm hoping not, and places will be open, but I worry about this kind of stuff. We set up a ceremony practice for this week. We called up my friend who's the officiant, and we're gonna go. They're either gonna come here or we're gonna go there. We're gonna have a little barbecue, hang out, because we haven't hung out for a while, and then go through the ceremony and just see how it works out, how it fits. There's some stuff I wanted him to ad-lib and write his take on stuff, but I'm just gonna be happy to see them. It's been a while. I emailed the DJ just questions about the song list, but he messaged back hey, I'm at the airport, I'm leaving on a 2-week vacation, but I promise I'll get back to you. And that message came back immediately. I was like, holy crap, that's the fastest a vendor has ever gotten back to me. It was he was texting me. So I'm gonna wait to talk to him more about it, but we have our song list done, so we're just gonna send that to him and be this is what we're doing, although I'm still not sure, because he's also the MC, so I'll have to talk to him later about the whole bouquet toss thing. But other than that, it's basically planned out, all the music's picked, and I'm happy about that. I also sent in our videographer and our photographer. They're the same company, and they have a little questionnaire that's oh, what times do you need us, blah blah blah, and you're supposed to fill it out 2 weeks before the wedding, but we're I don't know, 2 months or so, and I was yeah, whatever, because they sent us that immediately when we signed the contracts. It's just been sitting in my email, so I just found it and just did it all and sent it off, because I figure this is close enough, and if they have questions, I guess they can get back to me, but I don't think they will, or if things change, we'll fix it. But we're pretty sure the timeline's set. We have a meeting with our coordinator in, I think, 2 weeks or so. So we'll get that done when we talk to her and make sure everything's on the right page. Everyone. I also cut up a bunch of ribbon and tied bows, and the centerpieces are officially done. We have nothing else we need to add. The only thing is, like, there's a couple 3D printed things that my friend has that she made for us, but, like, next time I see her, we'll figure that out. But otherwise, everything is, like, packed up and ready to go. Like, we have so much time. And I'm just like, nope, yep, they're done. Like, the only thing we'll need to do is, put the sheets of paper on the table, because instead of doing, some people do like wedges or like mirrors, but I'm just putting 3 sheets of sheet music and then like the centerpiece on top of that. So the annoying thing is that we have to put all the paper out for every table, but I'm hoping it won't take us too long. And that's the only thing that's like not DIY. And honestly, I probably could just like glue them all together, and then, you know what, I'm gonna do that. I have extra time, they're done. So I could just glue together all the 3 pieces of paper so they can just be put right on the table. Problem solved. I don't know why I didn't think of that sooner. I literally thought of that while I was talking right now. But yeah, so I guess they're almost done, because I'm still gonna glue the bottoms, but I'm so proud that this is coming together a lot sooner than I expected, because I was looking through our list of like things we need to do, and those are basically just all like, we need to ask someone a favor, but you know, it's pretty early to ask someone a favor, so we wanted to wait a little bit, and just like little details like, hey, could someone drive us to the ceremony space? Like, oh, hey, could you pick up like the gift boxes or something? And then the other things too are just time, like, oh, I want to dermaplane again, but it's like, well, I can't just, dermaplane every day. That's not good for your skin. So I have to, or just like, oh, we gotta get a haircut. Oh, we gotta pick up our marriage license. Just little things that you can't do yet. It's crazy how far I've come so far. I'm very proud of myself. And Jake too. Jake has also helped. It's just been mostly me. That's all I have for this week, I think. Well, this last 3 weeks. But I guess I don't really have much else to say besides, if you're like me, burnout is real. Like, it can get, especially if you have more than just wedding planning going on. Because I know for a while there, I was just at home because of COVID. I was just sitting at home, and all I had to do for fun was wedding plan. But now I'm seeing friends more often. There are events happening. And I have there's still work. And then having to like cook and all this other stuff, it's like piling things on. Like, it wrecks you. And if you're someone who like has also other obligations, like you have kids or you have this or that going on, I don't know how you're planning a wedding at all, because I got so overwhelmed from just this. But I guess everybody has their own level that they're used to, and mine just went. I'm gonna go. I'm talking too much. I hope you have a good one. Bye.